Welcome to the Parker Daniels Show, where amazing stories are shared and hope is given.
What up, though? We finally got her, y'all. My girl, Blaque Diamond, all the way from South Carolina. We've been talking about her for about a month now, and here she is, a visually impaired author. She's going to be spitting so much information. I'm going to just run the interview just as it is because I don't want to cut out anything, and I don't want you to miss anything as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the video with Blaque Diamond, a visually impaired author. And thanks for supporting the Parker Daniels Show. Tell the audience, number one, how you came up with the name Blaque Diamond, and two, what age did you become blind, if you may?
Okay, I'll answer the second question first. I went blind at the age of 15 due to trauma to my retinas, due to a fight actually with one of my siblings. And so I had a lot of head trauma, so that's what caused both of my retinas to detach. And as far as Blaque Diamond is a pseudonym. My real name is Bianca, but I decided that I wanted to write under what we call a pen name, just because, it was just something different. It wasn't my usual. So I thought of the name Blaque Diamond because of a lot of life experiences that I've had in my life, and I just feel like I am a diamond. I've evolved and I've overcome a lot, and so Blaque Diamond to me is fitting as a pseudonym for me to write under.
Okay, for those who are unaware what pseudonym means, what is it? Tell them the definition of that.
Pseudonym is basically like anonymous, but I'm not anonymous. It's just, if you don't want to use your real name, we call it a pen name or a pseudonym.
Okay. Now, before you get into your story of how you became an author, well-established author, you are a very positive woman, also encouraging. Give the audience some of the things that you say to yourself to keep you motivated, because I did read that you believe in the power of words. So what do you say to yourself sometimes when you go through certain situations?
One thing I always say is it could be worse. That's definitely something I always think about. I try to think of the alternative. Or I like to say, there might be someone out there going through more than I am. So I'm grateful, for what I have been through and what I have been able to overcome.
Okay.
I also like to say that, I have goals and ambitions and things I want to achieve in life. And so I'm not going to let, one mishap stop me from doing what it is I want to do. It may be a barrier or a roadblock, but it's only temporary.
Okay. Now, you were born in 1989, as I had read, during the rap music scene. During the time it was kind of heavy. What made you choose to become a writer as opposed to a rapper or a musician, Bianca, Blaque Diamond?
Actually, my first career choice was to be a rapper. I was a huge fan of Missy Elliott back in those days, and my nickname is actually Missy. So when I and my brothers, we all wanted to be rappers. So my name was going to be Little B. That was going to be my rap name. I actually used to write lyrics before I started writing poetry. And once I got blind, I kind of felt like I wouldn't be able to have a rap career as a blind person because I never knew of any other blind person. Like I never even knew about Stevie Wonder before I went blind. So I thought that maybe that wouldn't be a good career for me. So then I transitioned from writing lyrics to writing poetry.
And it has worked for you, I must say, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has worked for you, I must say, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you were encouraged to become a writer at the age of 11 by your teacher, and you stated that it aided you in dealing with abuse and neglect. Explain briefly what was going on in your life at the time that writing became an outlet for you, if you may. You don't have to get into too much personal, but just explain what was going on. You said, you're dealing with neglect and abuse. What was going on at the time?
My mother was a single mother of 5 children at the time, and we all have different fathers. And none of the fathers stuck around to help her, raise the children. So she took their absence out on us as children, and so we were physically and mentally, emotionally abused, as children. And basically, like my therapy for me was writing. I would always write down my thoughts and feelings and things I wish I could say to her, but I didn't have the courage to say. And so I would, in journals and poetry and different things like that, expressing how I felt about our living situation. And
Okay.
basically, that's kind of how I am blind and probably will be blind for the rest of my life, because when the incident happened, I told my family that I couldn't see, and they didn't believe me. They thought I was faking and I was looking for attention. And so I didn't get help when it first happened. And it took 7 months basically for my mom to finally realize that I wasn't playing or I wasn't lying. And by that time, it was too late. The damage had been done. Scar tissue started developing and things like that. So the doctors tried to perform surgeries anyway, but they told her that if I had gotten help when it first happened, that they could have saved my vision. But because she waited so long, that there was nothing they really could do.
Do you feel bitter?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I forgave my brother when it first happened, because I knew our situation. We grew up in a very violent household, so fighting was our outlet. That's all we knew was violence. And so, I didn't blame him. And to this day, we actually have a stronger bond than any of me and my other siblings.
That's deep. Now, being that writing had become a form of therapy at this time, tell the people how effective it was after you had became blind, because I noticed that it kind of stepped everything up a notch after you had become blind and you were doing writing. So tell the audience the things that you wrote about, or what was more of an inspiration for you now that you were blind, because I see that also it gave you more to talk about. If you want to expound on that, do so, please.
Basically any and everything that I went through in my life, I've written about. Going blind, some of my poetry, depicts my feelings and emotions and things I was going through at that time and how I was feeling about, now being a person with a disability. Some of my poetry deals with the abuse, I went through as a child, my thoughts, my feelings. Even things that I went through as an adult, are depicted in my poetry, being a victim of sexual abuse, being a victim of domestic violence, all of that I talk about in my different poems. In my book, actually, Words of My Heart, which is a collection of poetry, I actually have a section that's dedicated specifically to poems that are about me, and they're written, from my heart. And they're different things that I went through in my life, but I just wrote it in poetry.
Okay. And what was the last part you just said?
Oh, I just said that the section in my poetry book is basically things I've went through in life, but I just wrote it in poetry form.
Okay, wrote it in poetry. For those who just joined us, I am speaking with Blaque Diamond, who is a well-established author, and she's wrote several books and poems, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. So again, welcome to the show. Those who are just joining us, I have two questions. Where do you get your inspiration from, and how often do you write?
My inspiration comes from myself. I'm not, a totally like religious person, but I am a very spiritual person. And sometimes, a lot of times prayers turn into poems for me. Just trying to improve someone else's life. Like, I feel like my experiences I share with other people so that I can help somebody else, not experience what I went through, or help them if they have been through the same things that I've been through, letting them know that they're not alone. Because when I was going through what I was going through, I've always felt alone. and I've never had nobody that I could talk to, or, you know, someone that knew what I was going through and, you know, would help me. So I've always wanted to be that helping hand for someone else.
Yeah.
And currently I am writing. I'm actually working on a book. It's called Mother's Day. And it is poems, letters, things that I wrote to my son while I was pregnant. You know, just things that I want him to be able to see when he gets older. And just, I'm going through a lot being a single mother, so I just want him to know the experiences that I went through and to basically see the sacrifices that I've made for him. And not just for me, but just mothers everywhere, and especially to single mothers.
Okay. Man, you are a woman of many things. I'm very proud of you. Just off the cuff, because I experienced it when I used to be a rapper back then. You ever experienced writer's block at any time?
Oh, yes, I have. Definitely. I have so many, like, unfinished stories right now. And, you know, everyone's always coming to me, when are you going to publish another book? Are you going to publish another book? And I'm like, yes, I have the stories here. I just haven't been able to sit down and write like I would like to. But I'm definitely going to get back to it. Even pre-pregnancy, like, I started these stories and I just couldn't get my mind to cooperate because, you know, I just was stuck. I had the storyline. I knew what I wanted the story to say or how I wanted it to go. I just couldn't get it down the way I wanted it to go.
Okay. Again, we are speaking with Blaque Diamond, who is a well-established author from South Carolina. And she's also visually impaired. And she's giving you her story and some inspirational tips and what have you. Tell us about the publications and accolades, especially talk a little bit about the novel, His or Her Betrayal. I had, you know, I thought that was very interesting. And I want you to basically expound on that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. Yeah, that book right there, a lot of people have just been like, and I'm surprised I've gotten so much like positive feedback from that type of story because I know how society is today about you know, being transgender and transsexual and things like that. But I'm definitely surprised about how much people have actually enjoyed, you know, reading that book and being able to see something that people go through in life. His or Her Betrayal is a fictional story, but it's a story about a young boy who basically feels like he's trapped in the wrong gender. And, you know, growing up, he experiences abuse from his father for him, you know, feeling the way he does. And it basically tells his story about how he, you know, grows up and he ends up going through the sex change and becoming who he feels like he's always meant to be. He falls in love, he meets a guy, falls in love, but he fails to tell the guy about, you know, his past. And so sadly he ends up, you know, getting killed in the story. I didn't want it to end that way, but I wanted to depict the reality. I knew people would want, you know, a happily ever after and the guy just falls, but I know reality, sometimes it doesn't end up like that.
Yep.
And so and a lot of people would ask, like, what made you write about that? What, you know, I wrote about it because I know it's a taboo subject. I wanted people to basically read someone else's story and kind of, I want to say, change their mind about how they think about, you know, things like that, but try to be more open-minded when it comes to, you know, different people being different in general, you know, whether it's their sexuality, whether they have a disability, whether anything, just to kind of open your mind to see that everything isn't black and white. You know, people aren't just, you know, choosing to have a certain lifestyle just because they want to. Sometimes, you know, things are just the way they are and people can't help it.
That's deep. That is deep, man. Tell us about a few more of the poems and and other accomplishments. This is your time to shine, Black Diamond.
Say it again.
Tell us more. Tell us about some more of the accolades, or the accomplishments or publications that you've received or put out there for the people, if they wish to, try to check you out. This is your time to shine.
Okay. Well, I first got my first opportunity to be published in 2000. Let's see. Wait a minute. I think it was 16.
Yep.
There was an author who was looking for aspiring poets to contribute to a basically a anthology of poetry. Wanting to get our work out there, wanting people to recognize us as aspiring writers and aspiring authors. So even though there were no proceeds from the publication, I wanted my work to be published. So I decided to contribute, some of my original poetry to the book. And so the book was published in January of 2017. And so basically that was my first time being published officially as a poet and an author. And so once that happened, I took the initiative and I'm like, now that I'm considered a published author, I wanted to go further. Like, I don't want that to just be it. So I decided to become a self-published author and to start publishing my own work. And so that's when I published His or Her Betrayal in April of 2017, and that was my first publication.
Okay.
And from then on, I just kept publishing and kept, whenever I would finish something, I was just like, okay, time to go. I would go through the whole process of editing and graphics and, hiring people to do different things that I needed to be done in order for my book to be published. And then, I would publish it. So I'll basically publish my books on my own.
Great. You also stated in 2018 that you're going to start your own publishing company. How has that been? Were you able to do it?
Yes, I actually did start my publishing company. I did have to put everything on hold because of, my pregnancy and, because I am self-published and also an entrepreneur, self-employed. So basically everything that I was using to finance my publishing company and my writing career was coming from my 9-to-5. So once I found out that I was expecting, all of that had to be put on hold so that I could make sure I had the funds to provide for my son.
And I'm not trying to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I like what you had said in your bio that you've invested in your product, and that's important because if you don't, and that's what you said too, if you don't invest in it, you really can't get anybody else to believe in your investment if you don't do it yourself. So that was definitely a good point that you made.
Mm-hmm.
And you are also with your publishing company going to or have been assisting other visually impaired authors. You want to talk briefly about that?
Yes, I actually that's why I'm definitely blessed with my son. But just my pregnancy kind of put a whole lot of things on hold. I was actually in the process of starting 2 anthologies for aspiring visually impaired and blind authors. One was a book of poetry, and then one was a book of short stories. And I had several people that were, excited about getting their work published and wanting to be published with me, because I was specifically, my publishing company, I wanted to be catered to people who are blind and visually impaired. Just based off my own experience with dealing with, trying to get published and people taking advantage of you, knowing that, you're a visual disability. And so I didn't want other people that were blind and visually impaired to go through that. So I wanted to start my company to help others. But yes, people were contributing their works and wanting their stuff to get published, and I just had to put it on hold until, everything works out financially as far as, being able to provide for my son and things like that. But I definitely will be back on it. It's not off the table at all. I just, need to get focused and get everything back on track.
Okay, well, get focused and get everything back on track, because I'm quite sure you've been in a high demand. Name some of the places or podcasts which you been on.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Name some of the podcasts that you have been on thus far, because I said that I know you are in a high demand.
Let's see. I've been on Save and Sexy Radio. I've been on Lord, the Blind Hour podcast. I've been on shoot, I can't remember all of the names.
That's okay, but I'm glad we finally got you on this show, which matters a great deal to me, Black Diamond. As we conclude, so what's next for Black Diamond, and where could we find your works also?
Like I mentioned before, I am working on my I guess you would call it like a collection of poetry and essays entitled Mother's Day. So I'm working on that. That will be published. And also just I'm trying to close out a lot of these, not finished stories that I'm working on. But I have just enrolled in school, so that's kind of putting another thing on me as well, was trying to get these books and stuff published. But you can find my works that's already published on my website at writerblackdiamond.com, and that's spelled writer and then BLAQUE diamond.com. Also, my books are available on Amazon, whether Kindle or paperback, iBooks, Barnes & Noble in paperback and ebook, your public library. And also the links are on my website as well to where my books can be purchased at.
Okay, well, y'all shouldn't have no problem trying to find Black Diamond, believe me. I'm gonna get the links and put them in the description, so it'll be on the show as well. So as we close, give them a little inspirational word, and tell them why they should subscribe to the part that show. And we're gonna close out with my girl and author, y'all, Black Diamond.
My word of inspiration for anybody out there who has a dream, basically to go after your dream, to go after whatever your heart desires. Like, you have to be the person that goes. You can't let anybody do that for you. No one can tell you. Someone can encourage you, of course, but they can't tell you to go after it. You have to be the person that go after your dreams and stuff, no matter what it is, no matter if someone else thinks it's stupid or, it doesn't mean anything. If it means something to you, go after it. Like, dreams are meant to achieve. And, I believe that wholeheartedly, that dreams are meant to achieve. No matter how high you think you have to go to get it, go after it.
Yes, I am hopeful for today. Take this music and use it. Let it take you away and be